Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, in an episode that goes back to July 29th, 1948, that stars the lady who is considered the first lady of suspense, Agnes Moorehead. This episode is entitled The Yellow Wallpaper.
Suspense. Autolite and its 60,000 dealers and service stations bring you radio's outstanding theater of thrills. Starring tonight, Miss Agnes Moorehead, in a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Today, everybody's switching to Autolite, and tonight, Autolite takes pleasure in presenting
Anton Leder's production of the famous short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, starring Agnes Moorehead.
I've never seen a worse wallpaper in my life. All those strangled heads and bulbous eyes and fungus growths seem to shriek with derision. When we came to this house, the minute I saw it, I made up my mind secretly to start writing again in spite of them. But I don't dare let John know I'm keeping this journal. It's difficult being married to a doctor. John's an excellent doctor, I'm sure, but he's so inconsistent about me. He says I'm not really sick, that I'm only a little run down from caring for the baby, that I have a temporary nervous depression. Yet he prescribes phosphates or phosphites, I don't know which, and tonics and exercise. And he absolutely forbids me to work until I'm well again. He hates for me to write a word. But writing is such a relief to my mind. I can write down things, tell things here that... No, John says I'm not to brood about those things. I confess they make me feel bad, so I'll only write about the house. I saw it for the first time today. It's the most beautiful place. John rented it for the summer, and we drove up today, a perfect June morning. The bay and the white sails and people already in swimming, and then the shaded lane and the riotous old-fashioned flowers and the gnarly trees and the house. The house standing alone in the summer stillness. I could never tell John, but you know, the house spoke to me. It was only because he rattled on so that I couldn't hear what
Reminded me of those English places you read about. Gardeners, cottages, and everything, and at only $200 a month.
Hedges and walls and gates that lock, and there's a ghostliness.
Remember, I rented it just for you, darling. And you're going to let Jenny do all the work while you live like a prince. You like it, darling? Speak up.
Yes, John. Yes, it's lovely, but it's strange, as though it might be haunted.
Darling, you've got that look on your face again. That dopey look. Well, Jean is home, has a station wagon, and if I know my dear sister, she's already turned the place inside out and cleaned it top to bottom.
John, is it haunted, do you think?
What, the house?
Uh-huh.
At $200 a month? Well, that's asking too much of fate. Come on, hop up.
You always laugh at anything you can't touch or see or put down in figures. There is something strange about the house. I feel
If you weren't always imagining.
I'm not imagining. One reason I don't get well is that you don't believe me. You don't even believe I'm sick. You tell my friends and relatives. I've heard you. I've heard you that there's nothing wrong with me.
There is nothing wrong with you.
You see, you're saying it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. But please don't cry. Now, come along. Let's go inside.
And so I came into this house in tears. It was wrong. It was all wrong. Maybe the house saw me crying, or this room. I got so unreasonably angry with John. I shouldn't, I know. He's so careful and loving, and I repay him so badly. I should control myself, at least in front of him. But it makes me so tired not to show what I feel. Jenny met us at the door. Naturally, she saw I'd been crying, but she took pains to ignore it.
Well, hello, you two. You're early. You must have started at the crack of dawn. How was the trip?
Made it in less than 2 hours.
They're like as peas in a pod, Jenny and John, both efficient and kind.
And how did you bear up, Pet?
Oh, very well, thank you, Jenny.
Well, just
Both kind and both somehow cruel. But I don't really think that.
Well, you're just in time for lunch. I bought a flounder down at the wharf and cooked it with capers and cream. Sound good?
Wonderful, Jenny.
May I see the house first?
The whole grand tour? Oh, Pet, the flounder will cook to death.
Well, at least my room.
Our room.
All right, if you insist. But if that fish is spoiled, don't blame me.
Why would I blame her?
Whose room is this, Jenny? Yours?
Uh-huh, it's small, but it's near the door and the telephone.
Oh, John, look.
What?
Let's take this one for you and me. I love those roses over the window.
I've already put your things upstairs, Pet.
Well, this has a little porch and such pretty old-fashioned chintz hangings.
Well,
Let's
you'll
take
love the
this.
room upstairs, darling.
And you can see there's no room in here for 2 beds.
And I won't hear of being in separate rooms. I'm going to make you rest and take your tonic.
John and I have talked it all over. And the room at the top of the house has so many windows.
And you know, darling, you must absorb lots of fresh air. Get your appetite back.
They smother me with concern. They crush me with kindness.
Come along. There's a good girl.
All right, you know what's best.
And you're going to like that nursery. It gets loads of sunshine.
Up the steep, narrow stairs, 2 stories up to the very top of the house. There's a gate at the top that locks. I wonder why. And beyond the gate is the nursery room. This room. It is big and airy, nearly a whole floor with windows that look every way. They say it was a nursery. But what was it, really?
Open them all, Jenny. Wide.
All right.
Well, darling?
Why are the windows barred?
For the little children. Otherwise it wouldn't be safe.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Children climb around so, don't they? What are those rings and things in the walls?
Oh, I expect they made it into a gymnasium when the children got older.
A sort of playground.
Oh, they must have hated the wallpaper.
Well, they were rough on it, that's for sure.
The way they've stripped it off in patches. I don't blame them. It's hideous.
Oh, who wants to look at the wallpaper with this view? My, you can see the whole bay.
It's a revolting color. It's unclean. Such a strange, sickish yellow there where the sun's faded it. I never saw worse paper in my life.
Don't dramatize it, darling. You must be hungry, and I know you're tired.
I'm not tired. Why do you both act this way? I say the wallpaper's ugly, and you look at each other. Your eyes shuttle back and forth, and suddenly you both act as though I'd lost my
Darling, that was something we weren't going to say.
Be a good girl, Pet. We don't act anyway. We just don't want you to worry. We want you to be well.
It's true, that's all they want. John laughs at me, of course, but one expects that in marriage. And he says I have foolish fancies, and he sometimes can talk them away, but not this time. No matter what he says, it's a smoldering, sulfurous, unclean, it's hideous wallpaper. No wonder the children scratched at it and stripped it down. No wonder they gouged the plaster with their little fingernails. No wonder they hate it. I hate it myself. And somehow, I feel it hates me.
For Suspense, Autolite is bringing you Miss Agnes Moorehead in the Yellow Wallpaper, Autolite's presentation of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
July 29th, 1948, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues with more Suspense, starring Agnes Moorehead, The Yellow Wallpaper, from July 29th, 1948.
And now Autolite brings back to our Hollywood soundstage Miss Agnes Moorehead as star in The Yellow Wallpaper, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
We've been here 2 weeks, and I haven't felt like riding again since that first day. I'm sitting by the window now, up in this frightful nursery room. There's nothing to stop my writing as much as I please. John is away all day and sometimes even at night if he has a serious case. I'm glad my case is not serious. But these nervous troubles can be depressing all the same. I cry at nothing and cry most of the time. John doesn't know how much I suffer. He knows there's no reason to suffer, and that satisfies him. I suppose John was never nervous in his life. He laughs at me so about this wallpaper.
No, I won't let you have your way, you silly goose. If we'd taken the room downstairs, you'd be seeing faces in the chinch drapes.
Not faces. Look at that spot, John. And that one over there.
Yes, I see. It's a repeating pattern.
It's a broken neck with two bulging eyes staring at me upside down.
And to me, it's climbing ivy or some kind of a vine. Take your choice. Could be anything. Besides, I can't repaper a room just for a 3 months rental.
Well, then let's move downstairs. Take me away from her. Don't you see, John? It hates me. I wish I'd get well faster.
Just use your will and your good sense, darling.
I'm afraid.
But you're so much better.
When I married you, I meant to be such a help, and I'm only a burden.
You are a help to me. You're my comfort.
I can't even be with my baby. It makes me so nervous. Will I ever be well enough to see him again?
Of course you'll be well, if you try.
Then I'll try, I promise. From now on, I won't look at the wallpaper, and I'll stop seeing things out of the windows.
Out the windows?
Oh, I see people walking up and down the paths and in the arbors. I know it's silly, and it's only in certain lights when I look at the wallpaper from the bed that I see...
See what?
Nothing. Nothing. No, you're right. There's nothing except a pattern. A front pattern and an under pattern in a different shade of yellow. It dwells in my mind so. I lie on that great immovable bed. It's nailed down, I believe, and follow that pattern about by the hour. And then where it isn't faded and when the sun is just so, I see a strange, faint, formless sort of figure lurking, waiting behind that front design. I don't know why I should write like this day after day. I don't want to. I don't feel able. And I know John would think it absurd, but I must express what I feel and think in some way. It's such a relief. There are things in that wallpaper that nobody knows about but me. You know, there's a woman stooping down and creeping about behind that pattern. Last night it was moonlight, and the moon shines in all around just as the sun does. John was asleep, and I hated to waken him, so I kept still and watched the moonlight on the wall till I felt creepy. The woman behind the paper began to shake the pattern as if she wanted to get out. I got up softly and went and felt the paper to see if it did move. It moved! It moved, I'm sure of it. And the poor woman cried out as though her voice came a long way over water. Telegram! Let me in! Telegram! Let me in! Telegram! Let me in! Oh, the poor thing. Then I went back to the bed. John was awake.
What is it, darling? Why are you up? Well, you shouldn't go walking around like that. You'll catch cold.
The moonlight woke me.
You are cold. You're shivering.
John, I'm not really getting better. Won't you take me away?
Our lease will be up in 3 weeks, darling. I don't see how we can leave before then. Of course, if you were in any danger, I would, but you really are better, dear, whether you see it or not. I'm a doctor, and I know.
Oh, my appetite may be better in the evening when you're here, but it's worse in the morning when you're gone.
Why, you're gaining flesh and color.
I don't weigh a bit more, not even as much.
Well, bless your little heart. You shall be as sick as you please. But let's go to sleep, huh? And talk about it in the morning.
You won't go away?
How can I, dear? And why should I, since you're better?
Better in body, perhaps, but
darling, for my sake and your sake and for the sake of our child, I beg you not to let that idea enter your head, not for an instant. Can't you trust me as a doctor when I tell you it's a false and foolish idea? Answer me, darling. Don't you trust me?
Yes, of course I trust you, only...
What?
I'm sleepy. Let's go to sleep. But I didn't sleep. I lay there for hours trying to decide if the front pattern and the back pattern moved together or separately. At night, in the moonlight, The front pattern becomes bars. And the woman behind it shakes the bars. Yes, she shakes the bars as she creeps around. I lie down ever so much now. John says it's good for me and to sleep all I can, but you see, I don't sleep. And that cultivates deceit, for I don't tell him I'm awake. Oh, no. Fact is, I'm getting a little afraid of John. He seems very odd sometimes, and it strikes me that perhaps it's the yellow wallpaper. I like this room now, and life is much more exciting than it used to be. I have something more to expect, to look forward to watch. And I really do eat better, and I'm quieter than I was. John is pleased to see me improve.
You see? You're flourishing like a weed in spite of your wallpaper.
Yeah. In spite of the wallpaper. In spite of it. Because of it. But I had no intention of telling him that. He might want to take me away, and I don't want to leave now until I found out. There's 1 week more, and I think that will be enough. There's a funny mark on the wall low down near the mopboard. A streak that runs around the room, goes behind every piece of furniture except the bed. A long, straight, even smudge, as if it had been rubbed over and over and over. How was it done? Who did it? What did they do? Round and round. Round and round. Round. It makes me dizzy. I've really discovered something at last. There are a great many women behind the pattern, and sometimes only one, and she creeps around fast, and her creeping shakes the pattern. She's trying to climb through and can't because the pattern strangles everything. But she does get out in the daytime. I know because I've seen her. When a car comes, she hides in the blackberry vines. I don't blame her. I'd hide too. I always lock the door when I creep by daylight. There are only 2 days left to tear this paper off and let the woman out in the room. And John's beginning to take notice. I don't like the look in his eyes, or the way he talks with Jenny about me. I overheard them.
She isn't sleeping nights, Jenny. She's quiet, but I know she's awake.
Well, it's little wonder she sleeps the whole blessed day.
Yeah. Maybe I ought to call in another doctor.
No, it's just stubbornness, John. She's determined to prove you're wrong.
I suppose you're right. Oh, I'm sure she'll improve. Oh, darling.
Well, hello, pet. How you creep about?
Well, that's a funny thing to say, Jenny. It isn't I who creeps.
Jenny says you stay in your room too much. You don't take your exercise.
You tell me to rest and then you tell me to take exercise. I can't do both.
Well,
as though I can't see through them.
Tomorrow's our last day here. We'll talk about exercise when I get you back to town.
I'll have to rouse you out of bed pretty early, pet. You know, some of that furniture up there belongs downstairs, and the movers will be here at 9.
Maybe you'll sleep upstairs tonight, Jenny. So you won't be alone, darling.
You won't be here tonight, John?
Well, not until tomorrow evening. There's a difficult case.
If you're going to feel lonesome...
Oh, no, Jenny. I'll rest better alone. I'm sure of it. Thank you all the same. That was clever of me. The sly thing. I won't be alone a bit. As soon as the moon shone in, the poor thing behind the paper began to crawl and shake the pattern. I ran to her. I pulled, and she shook. I shook, and she pulled. In my morning, we'd peeled off yards and yards of yellow wallpaper, a strip about as high as my head and half around the room. When Jenny came up in the morning, she looked at the wall in amazement. You know why I did it, Jenny? Just to spite the vicious thing. Why are you so surprised?
Oh, I'm not. Why, I wouldn't mind doing it myself. But you mustn't tire yourself, Pet.
She wouldn't mind doing it.
Why don't you come downstairs and lie down?
How she betrayed herself, that Jenny. She wouldn't mind doing it. But I'm here and no person touches this paper but me. not alive. I've locked the door and thrown the key down into the front path. I don't want anybody to come in till John comes. I want to surprise him. And I've got a rope up here. Even Jenny doesn't know that. If the woman gets out from behind the pattern and tries to run away, I can tie her securely to one of the rings in the wall.
The conclusion of Suspense, the Yellow Wallpaper, starring Agnes Moorehead, from July 29th, 1948. The conclusion comes up following these important words. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it, find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now the conclusion of Suspense, the Yellow Wallpaper, starring Agnes Moorehead, from July 29th, 1948.
There she is. There, see how the pattern moves, like wallowing seaweeds. Oh, it'll strangle her unless I help. Wait, I'll help you. I'll peel off the paper all I can. Wait, be patient. You push. You push and I'll pull. Oh, it sticks horribly to the plaster. There, I can get it off with my teeth. Oh, it hurts. But I'm getting it. Wait, just a little bit more. I'm getting it. A little bit more. I wonder if they all came out of the wallpaper, as I did. I think they did, but I have you securely tied by my rope now. You'll never get away. But I don't want to get away. It's so pleasant to be out in this great room to creep about as I please. It's so pleasant. But I suppose I'll have to get back behind the pattern when night comes. That will be hard to do. Well, it's better than going outside. I won't go outside, even if Jenny asks me to. For outside, I have to creep on the ground where everything is green instead of yellow. And here, I can creep smoothly on the floor. Listen, she's coming now.
Darling, open the door. You hear me? Open the door.
Oh, it's John at the door.
Open the door, darling. Open it, please, dear.
How he does pound and shout. It's no use, Dr. John. You can't open it.
Open it, do you hear me, dear? Open it. Jenny, bring me the ice.
Oh, no, he'll break down that beautiful door. John, dear, the key's down in front of the house under a plantain leaf.
Please, my darling,
it's down by the front door, John.
Open the door, for heaven's sake, open it.
I can't. The key's downstairs, John. It's under a plantain leaf by the front steps. It's under a plantain leaf, John. Go and see. You'll find it if you look. You'll find it. There. He's gone to look. The wallpaper has stopped laughing. The evil thing. Now I can creep slowly, smoothly on the floor. round and round, and round and round and round. And my shoulder just fits into that long smudge on the wall so I can't lose my way. Oh, he's coming back. He's running on the stairs. How astonished he'll be.
Darling. Oh, my dear. My dear, what is this? What's happened?
I've got out at last, John.
Out?
Yes, out in spite of you and Jenny. I pulled down the paper. I shook the pattern and pushed and pulled it down. It stuck horribly. But you'll never put me back. You'll never put me back. You're so pale, John. Why do you close your eyes? You watch how swiftly I creep around in this lovely yellow room. Fainted? Now why should that man have fainted? But he did. And right across my path by the wall, so that I have to creep over him every time. Round and round and round and round and round.
And now here again is Miss Agnes Moorehead.
It's always a great pleasure for me to appear on Suspense. I've thoroughly enjoyed this appearance this evening. And next week, when I turn listener again, I'll join the rest of you to welcome Mr. Charles Lawton's return to these microphones in a role written especially for him. Next week, then, An Honest Man, starring Charles Lawton on
Suspense.
Agnes Moorehead may soon be seen in the Warner Brothers production, Johnny Belinda. Tonight's suspense play was adapted for radio by Sylvia Richards from an original story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. Music was composed by Lucien Morawick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. The entire production was under the direction of Anton M. Leader. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Charles Lawton in An Honest Man.
From July 29th, 1948, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, another episode of the soap opera Claudia, July 29th, 1948.
And now, Claudia.
Claudia, stop tapping your foot. You're getting me nervous.
Oh, am I tapping my foot? I didn't know. Mama, I'm starting to feel stood up.
Well, then why don't you sit down on that suitcase?
I feel stood up, sitting down. I wonder where David is.
He'll be along any minute.
Not so far from here to the garage. He shouldn't be taking this long.
Oh, leave that poor boy alone, Claudia.
I feel kind of silly standing around on the sidewalk with all this stuff strewn around.
Since when do you get embarrassed?
Oh, I'm not embarrassed. I just feel silly.
That's nothing new.
Baby doesn't seem to mind. Look, Mama, he's sound asleep in his carriage. Think in a couple of hours we'll be back on the farm.
If David ever gets here from the garage.
Leave the poor boy alone, Mama.
Really, you are impossible.
It's one thing for you to say something. It's quite another thing for me to say it.
That is a brilliant observation.
On second thought, we don't have so much stuff to bring back, do we?
Your second thought is wrong. I still think we should have hired a truck.
Oh, nonsense. David's wonderful at packing cars. He'll be able to fit everything in with room left over.
That I will have to see.
You will, you will. La 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 dum da 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 dum. Hey, what's in that little box over there?
That little box?
Yeah.
Let me see.
I better open it to make sure we want it with us.
Don't you touch it.
Why not?
It belongs to me.
Since when are you so private?
Since always. Though I get little chance.
Oh, tell me what's in it.
I will not. And that's final.
Oh, see if I care. Say, what about the baby's bottle? He's due to have it in about... half an hour.
It's nestling in the carriage right beside him. I have it wrapped up so it won't get too cold.
Mama, you're so brilliant. You act as though you had experience with lots more babies than just me. You sure you didn't?
You were all the experience I needed.
There's David now. Yoo-hoo!
Claudia, shh. He sees you.
Hi.
Everything ready, darling?
Everything's been ready for half an hour. It's about time you got here.
I break my neck, and this is the thanks I get.
Pay no attention to her, David.
Claudia, why is it we always have more stuff when we leave a place than when we arrive there?
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, we came to Mama 3 weeks ago with just a couple of valises. And now, look.
Well, we've acquired a few things.
We certainly have.
Can't help that.
A few things. It looks like you've acquired a whole department store.
I suppose you'd like me to leave them behind.
Mm-hmm. That would help.
I suppose you'd like to leave the baby behind since we've acquired him since we've been in New York, too.
Oh, that would help even more.
Stop quibbling, children. Let's get started.
Don't quibble.
What's in this big box? Ouch. Filled with rocks.
Rocks? What would I be carrying rocks to Connecticut for? Our place is full of rocks.
This is no time for whimsy. What's in this?
That is mine, and no questions will be answered.
Mom has a secret.
It's about time. What's in this crate?
Oh, just a few books I received since the hospital.
If I thought you'd ever read them, I wouldn't mind so much. And say, it's an idea.
What?
For lugging them back to Eastbrook, I'm going to make you read every single one of these.
Honestly, Mama, what gets into men?
They don't like bundles.
But that's half the point of traveling.
Maybe it'd be simpler to pack up the car and carry this stuff.
Very funny.
I dread to think of repeating this process at the other end.
Oh, it won't be so bad. Undressing's always easier than dressing.
Now, let's see.
Now, I suggest you stop grumbling and get going. We'd be in Eastbrook already if you weren't making such a fuss.
I wonder where we can fit in the baby carriage.
Hey, wait a minute. Let me take the baby out of
Give
it.
him to me.
Now, here you are, Skeezix. You go to your grandmother. Can't imagine why, but she wants you. Don't you dare open your mouth.
Or else. Well, maybe I should take out the back seat and put the carriage in there.
Back seat?
No, the baby carriage.
Won't it fit in the trunk?
Now, what do you think?
I guess it won't. Too many wheels.
I'll have to put the valise in the trunk. How many are they?
Only 5. 3 big, 2 small.
Is that all?
That's all. Listen, David, if we didn't have to take the spare tire, we'd have room.
Don't you dare even suggest it. Haven't you learned your lesson?
All right. I was only trying to help.
The carriage won't fit in there. I'll have to put it in the back, and then the 4 of us will have to sit in the front.
It's a good thing the baby isn't grown up yet.
Certainly is.
You know, I think we ought to stand the little one up on the side, and the 3 big ones can go one on top of the other, and then the little one
Get
can go
away
on...
from me. Get away from me.
I don't know why you can't bear to have some good advice.
Get away.
What about tying the carriage on top of the car? You know, like skis?
Oh, great.
David, I have an idea.
You too, Mama.
You can put all the coats and small boxes in the carriage.
Yes?
Then we can put the boxes and... Oh, no. I guess it wouldn't work.
Of course, we could send the car up by itself, and then we could take the train.
I wouldn't mind. Oh, but think how all the other people on the road would feel, seeing a car on the road with nobody driving it.
Now, let me get these valises in. I feel like an Armenian peddler standing here on the sidewalk with all these boxes around.
You look like a peddler. You are mean, but that's the only Armenian thing about you.
Claudia, men don't appreciate jokes at a time like this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, not this way. This one's too tall.
Lay it sideways.
Shut up.
Mama, listen to how he talks to me.
I don't blame him.
I'll try and get the carriage in the car, darling.
I just can't bear to part with anything.
David, don't look around now, but there's a man watching you.
Probably fascinated at how henpecked a man can be.
Looks like a sidewalk engineer to me. He's coming over. See you, David. Dear.
Say, look. Just a suggestion, my friend.
Yes?
Now, wait a minute, look. Why not prop the 2 little suitcases on their sides in the corner? Then the 3 large ones will sit in the center.
Yeah, I've tried that, but they don't fit.
Doesn't?
No.
Well, what do you know? That's very strange. Very strange indeed.
My wife went to great lengths to choose them so they wouldn't.
Oh, married, huh?
Yes, I'm married, and I'm trying not to lose my temper.
You moving today?
Yes, we're moving.
You're very fortunate to find another apartment.
Well, we haven't found another apartment.
You haven't?
Hello, David. How you doing?
Terrible.
Oh, darling, I don't think the carriage is going to fit in the back either.
No.
Did you say you were moving, but you haven't found another apartment?
Yes, that's exactly what I said. This one fits in sideways better.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. Because now there's no room for the leather bag.
Well, how about propping it up with
Please,
some...
darling, please.
Well, then why are you moving?
Because I like packing the car.
So wait a minute. There's nothing to get sore at. Now, you're moving without a new place?
If you must have an answer, we've been evicted.
David!
Evicted? You mean evicted?
That's what happened.
Evicted, huh?
Oh, David, wasn't it terrible?
Yes, turned out of our apartment. Forced to leave suddenly. Made to pack all our belongings into the car and move.
Well, you know, that's one of the most terrible things I've ever heard of. What happened? You say you were evicted?
We had a baby, and the landlord... Well, need I say more?
He was so hard-hearted about it.
A poor, harmless little boy. There he is in his poor old grandmother's arm.
Evicted? Well, what do you know about that?
Yes, she has to move, too.
Don't let Mommy hear you talking about her like that.
Say, well, this is one of the most terrible stories I've ever heard. Say, look here. Have you called the authorities?
What good would it do? If it's this kind of a world where families have to be turned out into the street, well, that's the kind of a world it is. Come on, Claudia, hand me the little suitcase. We'll try to find a home for it, too.
I ought to throw it at you.
Are you sure there isn't some way I can help? Anything I can do to help?
No, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do except, well, it's nice to have met you.
You know, I think you're all very courageous.
Well, we really don't have very much to be courageous about, but...
Are you sure I can't do anything to help you?
I'm sure. We'll get along some way.
Say, you know, I've got a suggestion. If you put the big fat one on the bottom, it might fit a lot better that way.
Well, thanks.
Aren't you ashamed?
No, I'm not ashamed.
You ought to be pulling that man's leg like that, strumming on his heartstrings.
He turned out to be pretty nice. I can't stand sidewalk kibitzers. Well, say, it does go in the way he said. Oh, what do you know?
When are we going to get underway? It's almost time for the baby's bottle.
Let the baby wait. It's time he did his share. There. I guess this is as good as I can get the back of the car. We'll put this one under your foot.
So no grass will grow.
Now I'll get the carriage in. The coats and boxes will be all set.
You see, it hasn't been so bad.
Just a little wide.
Don't scrape the paint off.
That's the least of my worries. There. Now the coats and the boxes. Claudia.
Yeah?
Claudia, get in front and take the baby. Mommy, you get next to her and close the door quickly so nothing falls out.
It's so bossy. Hand me the baby, Mama.
Here he is, Claudia. Move over and make room for me.
Now, take a deep breath, Mama.
Well, here we are. All on our way to Eastbrook.
I can hardly believe it.
Now, David, you less grumpy now that everything's fit into the car? I knew it would.
I never have been grumpy. Now move over. Make room for me.
I moved over as far as I can move over. But your son, he's so fat.
At last. I hope the tires hold out.
Wouldn't it be funny if we had to unpack the car to get the spare tire out?
I apologize for her, David. She has a misplaced sense of humor.
Are we all set?
All set.
Wait a minute, David. Don't start the car.
What's the matter now?
The black frying pan.
What about it?
I have to go upstairs and get it.
You what?
I left it in Mama's stove. David, it's the most wonderful frying pan in the whole world for bacon. I'll only be a second.
We're going to Eastbrook without the black frying pan.
Pan is such a gorgeous frying pan.
It's black and dirty.
It is not.
It just looks dirty because it's black, but it's clean.
I'll buy you a new one.
It's not the same thing. It takes years and years to train a black frying pan. It's like antiques.
Then we'll have to do without it.
You are heartless. David, please let me get out of the car to get it, please.
What do I do now, Mrs.
Pay no attention to her. Just start the car and let's be on our way.
Oh, the two of you. You have no understanding.
I have understanding. The black frying pan is in that heavy box. I was a little embarrassed to say so, but I wouldn't go a step without it either.
Oh, Mama, now I love you as much as the frying pan.
Now, Mrs. Brown, you have no idea how I love you. Well, let's go.
It's no accident that Coca-Cola has become such a favorite with young people. It belongs with friendly occasions. It's delicious and wholesome. And it only costs a nickel a bottle. Why not have your grocer put a case of Coke in the car this afternoon? With Coke on ice, the young people in your house can play host to their friends in great style. That makes them feel good, and it makes you feel good, too.
Say, my friend, did those people really have a place to go?
Oh, yes. Yes, they do. A rather nice place at that. They'll be getting to their farm tomorrow.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear it. Did the gentleman get all those pieces of his puzzle put together?
Just about. They left a minute ago.
Oh. I'd like to have seen how he packed the car. Didn't think he could do it. I got the same job coming up. The wife and I are going off for 2 weeks.
Well, I wish you a pleasant vacation.
Thanks, friend. It'll be okay if the little woman doesn't pack too many duds. Well, so long.
Well, so long, and thanks for your help. If all goes well, we'll hear the big arrival home tomorrow. Till then, as I was about to say, every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir.
From July 29th, 1948, the soap opera Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. A very gentle show compared to a number of the other soap operas we brought you here on the program. Gives you an idea. It's just kindness worked well, at least it did for Coca-Cola and for the local Coca-Cola bottlers. It was syndicated on transcription discs, that's why we've got all of them, and went out to individual radio stations for their local dealing and their local airing on stations. Claudia, July 29, 1948, here on Classic Radio Theater. Please thank this station. Support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. Now, if you miss a day, you don't have to miss a single show. Our shows are available anytime on demand through my webpage, which is classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. There you can stream the shows, learn more about classic radio collecting. You can find a list of all the places you can get copies of our shows, all the various podcast apps. And you can also contact me. And if you like what we do, if you'd like to throw us a couple of pennies, you can buy me a copy there at classicradio.stream. All that money gets plowed back into acquiring new shows. Thanks for listening. Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.